Dr. Ron Kaiser here, and I know it's been a while in terms of Facebook Lives. So, first of all, I did want to say that, I am back, going to try and do this uh, probably a couple of times a week instead of pretty much every day like I did for a while and seemed to lead to a certain amount of burnout and lack of creativity, which is kind of important for today's topic. Want to apologize for those of you who may have tuned in early and not seen me. I actually did kind of a test thing on my personal page. Glad I did, because every time I go on Facebook Live, it seems like they've changed some of the ways that you enter. So I'm glad that I was able to test it out there. If you have listened in on it on the personal page, you're not going to hear anything different. So, hopefully some of that stuff registered. It's a beautiful fall day here in Philadelphia. It's the kind of day where you see everything from down coats to shorts and t-shirts. As a Minnesotan, this is a pretty good get-up for me on a day like this. I was out earlier wearing a light jacket, and I was, just really more than I needed. I know some people probably are going to be less comfortable with this temperature than me, and I know some of you listening in various places are either warmer or colder, but I just do want to share the fact that I'm in a place where we're really enjoying the kind of day that we're having. And so I think this was a good day to get started again with Facebook Live. And what we're talking about now is creativity. The reason I felt it was really important was because one of the really interesting articles that I read recently was in the Washington Post, July 12th, I believe, it's 2021, and the title was "Creativity May Be the Key to Healthy Aging." I think creativity is one of the keys to healthy aging, whatever age you are. And creativity is something that sometimes gets a bum rap because many of us think that we're not that creative because we're not good at art, or because we're not good at creative writing, or because we're not good at singing or playing a musical instrument or something like that. Creativity is much more than that. Creativity means doing things that are unique to you and doing them in novel ways. Trying to do some things differently that gets your mind focused in a different direction than what you're used to doing. If you take a daily walk, as I do, how about going at different times of the day and seeing how the sunlight affects where you walk? How about taking different routes so that you can stay alert to different things along those routes? How about taking two shorter walks one day and a long walk the other? These are examples of creativity because you're using your brain differently from day to day. If you're used to buttoning your shirts with your right hand, try it with your left hand. There are all kinds of new courses to learn. And I did mention, while most of us aren't artists or anything, not bad trying to do some drawing. Don't let perfection impede the creative process. People who are creative know that they're not going to be right every time they do it. They're not going to be perfect every time they do it, and they don't evaluate themselves on that basis. So, particularly for those of you who are dealing with creativity issues outside of a classroom, this is really, really kind of a great time to take those risks, to get in touch with your creative self, and to really be able to add that to being the best version of yourself. Many, many years ago, when I was doing my master's degree at the University of Minnesota, my thesis was on creativity. Studied with one of the real world's experts in creativity at that time. And one of the things that we had people do, if I recall correctly, it was called the test of imagination. But we gave people shapes, circle, square, triangle, it could be almost any shape, and saw how many different things they could do with those shapes, how many different ways you could use it, whether it be a face, whether it be kind of a ball, whether it be lots of other things. And again, there's no obvious preference for a circle. It can be a square, it can be a triangle if your favorite shape is triangle or oblong or rectangle. But what I'd like to have people try to do, and of course, no way of enforcing it, but I would really encourage people to test their own creativity by seeing how many different things they can make out of a circle, how many different things they can make out of a square. Whatever shape you decide on, let's see how many you can do in, say, a 24-hour period or a 6-hour period, or whatever time frame you may use. And while we've got a community going with Rejuvenaging University, and we've had our first course completed, maybe we can give our first prize now. So if you get into this exercise, take a little bit of time, see how many creative things that you can do, get your creative juices flowing. Don't worry about perfection and so on. Get a count and take some pictures of what you did, or scan them, or whatever. Send it to me at ron.kaiser@thementalhealthgym.com, and maybe we can award our first prize if we have a real contest going. So I hope that you think enough about your creativity that you want to stimulate it by this one exercise, just as you should be stimulating it throughout the day, looking for opportunities to try and do things new. And again, it doesn't have to be a major kind of thing. If you're used to tying your shoes with a single knot, do it with a double knot. You have to use your brain a little bit differently. Again, if there are things that you reach up for and get out of a shelf with your left hand, try it with your right hand, or vice versa. Begin to use your brain in different ways. It's good for your brain. It's good for your feelings of self-confidence as you can do more things, and you'll be surprised if you start thinking like a creative person. One of the things that you'll find is you won't be too hard on yourself when you do things that aren't perfect, as long as you're creating. When you're creating, you're contributing to becoming the best version of yourself, and ultimately some of your creations can benefit society. So please, I'd like to hear from some of you with a commitment to do as many of these creative drawings, whether it be a square, a circle, whatever it may be. I know I'm not doing a very scientific experiment for this, but I hope some of you will follow through on it. Again, ron.kaiser@thementalhealthgym.com. And again, looking to do another Facebook Live this week. Looking forward to interacting with you. And I hope, if you haven't signed up to be a member of the Mental Health Gym, doesn't cost anything. You get our regular email newsletters, as well as finding out about other opportunities. And please visit, download, rate, review our podcast, Rejuvenaging with Dr. Ron Kaiser. All this stuff is available to you to help you in a positive way, and particularly for those of you who may be going into or are in the second half century of life, to again be the best version of you and lead your lives as enthusiastically as possible and as creatively as possible.